pleasure to speak with you both. Eric,
Thanks.
you've gotten to show so much variety in your performances over your career. So I was curious, how fun is it just to be the show's primary villain and to really let loose?
It's everything I had been hoping for and working toward for a long time. So pretty amazing.
Sonny, you left the role of Present Mike after the first season due to vocal strain. I was curious how difficult it was to make that decision to leave and how exciting it is that you are returning to My Hero Academia.
How hard was it? Was it hard to leave the hottest new show? Yeah, it was pretty darn hard. It was weird too, because I've never had that problem before. Like, I've played characters who do crazy things with their voice, right? And it doesn't hurt me at all, but something about that voice screaming really just tore up my vocal cords in a way it's never done before. But to be able to come back as a completely different kind of character who is so nuanced is a thrill.
Yeah, and it's even a bigger role, so maybe it worked out best long.
That was the plan, actually, from the beginning. I was like, yeah, that's a nice role, but I'm gonna hold out for something bigger. Let me just quit here. That was not the plan.
Eric, we're continuing to see just how dark Tomura is with how he was able to manipulate Overhaul, and he really got the last laugh there. There's a real ruthlessness to him, but he's also very smart and conniving. Can you speak to what you find so interesting about him?
I find Shigaraki interesting because, like a lot of villains, he struggles with knowing what is good and continuing to choose the opposite. So that's been fun. It's also been fun to play a different type of character than I'm used to playing. But really, above everything, it's the fan response is wonderful, just wonderful.
Yeah, the community of My Hero Academia is just incredible to see the fan response. And Sonny, you talk about the nuance in Re-Destro. What elements of him really stood out and interested you as a character?
Well, he's barely been seen in my version, so there's not a lot I can talk about. Although I have read ahead in the manga, and I love the conflictedness of his nature. It's two sides that really don't belong in the same person, and yet they exist there. And there's a lot to sink your teeth into performance-wise. So I'm looking forward to going into it deeper.
And then Eric, one thing I really love about the series is that it does give genuine depth to its characters, and this includes all the villains as well. And as you were saying, Shigaraki, he has this interesting background with him being related to All Might's mentor, and it's such an interesting, just going completely different ways in the good versus evil spectrum, and it raises questions of nature and nurture, and the element of All Might, like, was he really the symbol that they needed? So there's a lot of complexity there. How does that extra depth and backstory there really add to your performance?
Well, it's fun. I don't know. I mean, it's hard. It's hard because the way that I perform on this show is I show up to the booth. I'm given a script that is a cold read for me. I've not seen it before. And then I have to trust the director to help get me to the right place with the performance. So I have to kind of see the matrix, for a lack of a better description, where I don't exactly know. I don't have all of that information as I'm performing the character through the show. So I have to hope that the information I'm getting from the director and from the script informs my performance enough so that the things that you find out later in the show about the character have informed the performance. Excuse me. So it's kind of a backwards way to working. Like, if you were in a play, of course, you get the whole book, read everything, learn everything about the character, build your performance, do that. So it's a little switched. But luckily, we've got great people who can tell me everything that I need to know to bring as much as I can to the performance.
You know, Sonny, like you said, there's not a ton out on Re-Destro, but we do know that he's kind of, you know, against the regulation of quirks, which is a very interesting topic in the show. And it's something that's been explored before. You know, Deku got in trouble for using his powers when not authorized, even for a good deed. So like there's definitely a debate there within that universe. So I know you can't get into a ton of, you know, Re-Destro
My
in
body,
there.
my quirk. Yeah.
Yeah. But I would love to get your thoughts on that kind of in-universe debate and how that, you know, kind of colors the character.
Yeah, and right now I've been reading the manga, so I'm trying to figure out if this is something that he really believes, or is he's using it as a really good way to motivate people to do what he wants them to do. But I think to a certain degree, I think he really does think that. I mean, it's a good starting off point. Personally, I think, yeah, how dare people put limitations on you and your potential? If there really were such a things as quirks like that, I think I'd be a little annoyed if people told me what I could do and what I couldn't do, or how far I could push the power.
Especially when they're so cool, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And then Eric, you know, Tomura has, there's so many great scenes with him. What are some scenes that have really stood out, or maybe some lines of dialogue that really resonated with you?
Well, it's hard because for me, as I was mentioning, the way the performance is done, I don't get the chance to watch really even the whole scene. I get to play my character's moments. The way that we record is I get to play like whatever character I'm brought in to voice that day. I'm playing those moments only. So I'm having to depend on the director to inform me of everything that's around that. And life moves so fast, I don't have a lot of time to go watch. You know, I certainly can't watch everything that I've been in. And I'm getting through My Hero with my daughter, but I'm still very early on right now.
Sonny, you know, you've played so many iconic roles over the years and in so many incredibly popular series. And like you said, My Hero's, you know, just blowing up. It's huge and it's only growing bigger over time. Like we've only seen the, you know, the tip of the iceberg here. Can you speak to that mass appeal of this series and how it kind of already ranks up there with some of your other work?
But I think what it has in common with those other works is the depths of the character. You know, you really care about these characters, and because you learn so much about them, and it's almost soap opera like, you know, that you get so invested in them, you want to know what they're going to do next. And in those series you had mentioned before, they also have that in common. These are really rich characters who aren't just surface. They're way more than two-dimensional. So it makes sense that a show like this that has a lot of heart and a lot of depth would keep on going. Then people would want more of it. And it was, again, when you mentioned earlier having to give up that President Mike role, that was the worst thing. You know, it's like, first of all, I love the character. You know, I was having a blast with this character. Although I would say, if you're going on depth of character, the character I'm playing now is a bit deeper than President Mike was. But at the same time, that character is such a blast to play. So when it wasn't just the phenomenon that the show was huge, it's just a fun show to be on, you know?
And then my last question, Eric, you know, we talked about quirks earlier. Shigaraki, he has like the coolest quirk. The decay is such an awesome visual to see. It just suits the character so well. Can you give your thoughts on that quirk and, you know, how that ability just represents him quite well?
To me, and of course, I'm tighter with the character of Shigaraki than with others, obviously. But to me, his quirk, he looks like his quirk. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like he's almost like a physical manifestation of it. I know that's kind of common in this world, but there's something about him that just really speaks to that quirk, and his desire to bring so much destruction, it just goes hand in hand with his quirk.